Okay, for a while now, some of my aunties have been asking me to write a book about my story. But writing isn't my best skill, and I prefer making videos like this one. So, I've grown up without any significant vision impairments for most of my life. I needed glasses when I was about 5 to help with reading, and at my first eye test, the optometrist found an astigmatism, which is an imperfection in the roundness of the eye. So, normally they're round, this one's a bit off round. So I had a distorted left cornea for a long time, but it didn't affect the way my vision worked. So the cornea is the focusing lens, and rather than being a round shape, mine was ovoid. I don't remember having any problems at primary school. I just had the glasses to read, and as part of the primary school band, I played the trombone from about year 4. I wasn't really a sporty kid. I enjoyed playing a lot of field events on the sports days. I mainly enjoyed the discus and javelin activities, both inside of school and at little athletics that we went to outside of school. I didn't do too bad during classes either, normally a B or a C student, so I wasn't down the bottom, wasn't up the top, kind of nicely in the middle and slightly above. When I was about 7 or 8, I started learning how to drive in a manual 4-wheel drive ute that we've got at the house. Actually this one right here. So we've got 10.5 acres of bush. Plenty of space to learn to drive and climb trees, which is really fun. When I started high school, I still played trombone, enjoyed the field events on sports days. I also ended up in the academics class in the music program at the school for the first few years, but continued on with the academics class for most of high school. I stopped playing trombone in the second year, second year of high school I should say, and joined in the school drumline, which I really enjoyed. In my second year of high school, year 8, I also joined the Emergency Services Cadets, which is a PCYC run program to let teenagers experience the emergency services. So as part of the school leadership program as well for my year level, I didn't really run events too often as it wasn't really my thing. However, I did get to help organise things that run events. So I was in year 10 when I was found out that I had a vision impairment, or a vision problem. So I started out year 10 with a full field of vision, because we're some of the people that see out to the sides, see how far we can see. During the September school holidays, which is our spring, I was out with my dad in the truck as he's a self-employed transport driver for the timber industry. I was helping put the slings on the packs of timber when I didn't see him handing me a sling from my right in a sudden blind spot, and I didn't see the forklift either off to my left with a 6-metre pack of timber. We went and I got an eye test done again at the optometrist and a visual fields test done a few days later, like both at the same time but a few days after this. The fields test showed that I'd lost most of my peripherals, and they referred me to Dr. Sharma, an ophthalmologist at the Queensland Eye Institute, QEI. I spent the next few weeks going to see a lot of Dr. Sharma at the Queensland Eye Institute to get diagnosed. It had a lot of interesting tests involved, and tests that showed I have retinitis pigmentosa and macular degeneration. RP and macula, as I'm going to call them. So RP is a deterioration of the retina, which is a part of the eye that receives light, and then it is sent to the brain, and it affects the rod's day vision and cone's night vision, which are parts of the retina that receive light and is often presented as a loss of peripheral vision and a loss of night vision. It deteriorates from the outside in. Macular degeneration, on the other hand, causes a loss of the central vision. So that eventually works its way from the inside out from the centre and can present in a number of ways, whether it's a blurring of the central vision or fully. So it can present as a loss of central vision partially or fully, either as a black or white area, or it just may not be there at all. I was also diagnosed with bilateral cataracts, which cause a clouding of the natural lens in the eye. So bilateral meaning it's in both eyes, and the two eyes had different cataracts at different stages. So they grew at different speeds, which was really interesting. A lot of people get that as well though. The result from having all these conditions takes my field of vision from a standard person's field of vision. They might be able to see out to nearly their shoulders. But with all my conditions, it takes me down to just under 10 degrees from the centre of my vision, which actually makes me legally blind in Australia. During year 10, I also joined the SES at my local group, which I enjoy, and as I already had a bit of exposure to some of the things that they get to do as a service, and I enjoyed doing the training before I was a member. So during the training I got to meet most of the people that were in the unit at the time, which was awesome because we get to meet them all while we're doing basic training or induction training. After we had the diagnosis, we were offered to get genetic testing to see if they could find the genetic cause for my RP and macula. The genetic testing took about a year to come back, and after being looked at by the top specialists for the genes that they had found, they looked at them but they couldn't find the gene of probable cause for my condition. What they did find was that I'm a carrier for Usher's syndrome 1 and 2, which takes your hearing and sight. So there's 3 types of Usher's syndrome: type 1, 2 and 3. Type 1 affects your hearing and sight from birth or early childhood. Type 2 affects your hearing and sight from late childhood, early teens. And type 3 affects your hearing from normally in your teenage years to early 20s. So this was interesting to hear back while I was still in year 11. Still trying to figure out what I wanted to do when I left school, as it was less than 2 years away. So I'd already been told that I can't hold a car license due to having a very limited field of vision. I also knew that my idea of becoming a paramedic wasn't really feasible, so I started trying for the next reasonable train of thought, sort of following along the medical line still. So next reasonable thing was trying to become a nurse. So I went down to the TAFE to try and get into the nursing course, and the summary of the conversation that we had with the staff was that I'm more of a danger to the patient than the patient themselves, which is just what a 16-year-old wants to hear when they're trying to figure out what they want to do, especially when they're having a interesting time still adapting to having a vision impairment. When I was diagnosed, we sent off to some requests to Vision Australia and Guide Dogs Australia for a bit of help. It took a while for us to hear back from either of them, and when we did finally hear back, it was from Vision Australia, and I got an O&M, or Orientation and Mobility Instructor. So this was in the final term, or 6 or 7 weeks of me still being at high school. And due to the COVID, and my first O&M session was done via phone call, where my O&M was calling from Rockhampton, as it was quite difficult to travel, especially when we were so when we finally got into able to get into an in-person meeting, we met, and it was raised that it took a really long time for anyone to contact me, nearly 2 years. And she said it was really strange that no one had contacted us earlier. So we got a lot of introduction done to using a white cane in those 6 or 7 weeks. I managed to break my cane about 3 times in the first few weeks. The first time I broke my cane was when the dog ran into it and made the middle section have a curve in it, like a elbow of spaghetti or pasta, and I broke off the cane tip. So fortunately we were able to bend it back into straight so that I could use it still. And the next time I saw my O&M, we covered the 2-touch or tapping method. All of this was amongst the preparations for my final senior year exams. So during my senior year, I was trying to find something that I could do for a job, or at least get out of the house and give me something engaging to do. So I started running a YouTube channel, following along all my adventures as I figured out all the different things. Because I'd had such a hard time trying to find all these things that we can do. So I decided, what if I run a YouTube channel that follows along on all my adventures, showing other people what we can do. Because there's so many things that we can do, but a lot of us are just not looking in the right areas. Since leaving school, I've become an adult leader with my unit of the Emergency Services Cadet. I'm still an active member of the SES, or State Emergency Service, which is the primary service for flood and storm response. I've become a member of the Gold Coast Blind and Vision Impaired Association, which is a great social group. We meet every Wednesday. I've also found a few sports that I really enjoy playing, such as the blind table tennis, blind lawn bowls, and blind golf. I still run my YouTube channel, and my O&M, Lisa, has since started out on her own as an independent orientation and mobility instructor. So, as part of that, she organises different social outings for vision impaired and blind people to meet and have a chat, as well as try something new. This is how I first got into the blind sports, and started trying to find new ways to do more things and have a great network of contacts. I've done a bit of volunteering with Lisa to provide some social support to some of Lisa's other clients for trying new events, trying new experiences as well, which is awesome, and trying to help them adjust to the new circumstances, having recently gone through losing most of my vision and becoming legally blind. Another activity I'm part of is the Riding Blind project held at Queensland Moto Park. It's a project to get the blind and vision impaired people back into riding dirt bikes or motorcycles, solo with a navigator behind them, letting them know when to turn. This is a great project, as a few of the members have ridden bikes before, and so they get to get back up and ride the bikes, and those that haven't, they get to experience riding for the first time with the assistance of other people. So since joining the Bayview House, or the Gold Coast Blind and Vision Impaired Association, I've become a committee member and helped with some of the running of our 2022 Blind and Low Vision Expo, which was held at our little hall in the Gold Coast. So my vision's remained pretty much unchanged since I was diagnosed, and I have a rare form of RP that jumps in stages. So it'll jump in stages, and it will take a bit of vision. And it could be days, it could be weeks, it could be decades in between jumps. So you never know exactly when you're going to have the next jump and a sudden loss of vision, or all of the remaining vision. Most people generally get 2 or 3 jumps from fully sighted to blind, whether that is total blindness, light perception, or worse. I've only had a jump the one time, and that was when I got diagnosed. So I'm still kind of getting used to the idea that at any day now I could wake up and lose more or all of my remaining vision. Or it could suddenly happen and I'm awake and doing something. There is no telling at the moment when it might happen, or if it might happen, because there's still a small chance that what I have left is what I have left for life. Or it might jump again. So I'm still getting used to it, as there's nothing more I can try and do to stop it. So if there's nothing more I can do to stop it, I have to get used to it. So something I'm starting to do as part of that, of getting used to it, is starting to step into accessibility consulting for other people. So this is trying to improve accessibility for all sorts of disabilities, whether it be vision impaired people or deaf people or people with wheelchairs. Obviously I'll stick to my disability that I've got, being the vision impairments, but trying to improve the accessibility across the board for everybody, making sure that everybody's able to access different places and different resources. So this gets people access to everywhere. So that's something I'm really looking forward to doing a bit more of, because I've done a little bit of it a little bit prior to this video, but something I'm quite enjoying, and so I'll continue on going through those little bits and pieces of accessibility consulting. So they have some awesome results, and yeah, that's kind of my story up until now. So you guys will get to follow along on this channel and see all the exciting stuff coming up. We've got a few different things that might be interesting. I know soon we're doing zip lining with Lisa. So Lisa's organised a day soon for us to go out and do zip lining as a group. So I'll bring the GoPro along wherever that is. Actually, it's in the room here somewhere. I don't know exactly where it is. It's in amongst all the other camera gear. But I'll take that along, and that'll be some awesome footage for you guys. You might get to see some of the other people I'll go out and do some of these blind sports with. But as we find more and more things to come and do, I'll be recording them probably a bit more now recently, now that I've gone through all my bank up of footage. But we'll be finding lots of things to do. I've actually got a number of a guy that I'm going to do a video of soon, showing a bit about how he does woodworking, so that'll be really interesting for us. I've not had much to talk to this guy about how he does his woodworking, but we'll see when he gets finished setting up, and we'll see when it's fine to go around and film. So yeah, that'll be exciting to get done.